Hello, everyone. Good evening, and a very warm welcome to this session where we are going to discuss about one year to CLAT, right? Where we'll dive into strategies and tips and tricks and actionable insights that is going to help you to navigate the year ahead with more confidence and clarity. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all today in this session. And before we begin, um, I just want to, paint a very quick picture for you, right? See, imagine having a guide who not only understands the challenges for preparing for CLAT, but also has lived them, learned from them, and then has emerged stronger, right? Someone who has been in the trenches, who knows all the terrains, and who can show you the smartest way forward, right? Um, that's why that's exactly who we have with us today, Abhyudaya Alok Saxena. He is going to be here with us, and we will be having hopefully very insightful discussions that is going to help you navigate your next 1 year if you're preparing for CLAT, which I am assuming that you are. Um, First of all, welcome Abhyuday, and thank you for sparing time for this session on a Saturday evening. Um, just a quick introduction about Abhyuday. He is a co founder, director, and chief mentor at Uncoached CLAT. It is a platform which is dedicated to empowering aspirants like you with very innovative and cost effective guidance. Um, Abhyuday's journey is nothing short of inspiring, right? With 2 years of self preparation, he has cracked CLAT 2025 with an All India rank of 604, all without any formal coaching. And that's where his magic lies, right? He did not just ace the exam, he has redefined how aspirants can approach it, making the entire process smarter and not just harder. He provides personalized mentorship program and at Uncoached CLAT, which is Abhyuday's YouTube channel. He has mentored countless students so far, and he has helped them to equip them with strategies that go beyond textbooks. The strategies that is rooted in pragmatism, that is rooted in discipline and creativity, right? So thank you so much again, Abhyuday, for sparing time for us. I really, really hope that we are going to have some very meaningful, engaging, and enlightening discussions with you. We are going to discuss about Abhyuday's journey of preparing for CLAT. And through that entire discussion, I am very sure you will also get to know a whole new perspective, um, how strategy can meet simplicity, and how, and I really hope that the session this discussion will help you to guide your way through CLAT preparation, and it will feel like a conversation with a very trusted friend. So, without very any further ado, let's give again a very warm welcome to Abhyuday.
So now, thanks a lot for having me here and thanks a lot for your warm welcome. I'm truly delighted to be here and I would like to say good evening to everybody. I can see a lot of mentees joining in here. So
Yes.
I'm quite happy to be here and quite happy to be connected with the aspirants. So yeah, okay.
Great, Abhyuday. So, how is it going for you now? As far as I remember, of course, you have gotten AIR of 604 this year, but you had also appeared for the 2024 CLAT exam.
Yes, that is absolutely right. So last year I had a rank of 2043, which could have got me some NLU, but then I chose not to. I didn't even appear for the counseling process because I was very sure that I have to attempt this once again.
So you chose to drop a year,
Yep,
prepare one more time, appear one more time, and then you got a rank
sure,
of 604.
absolutely,
And this time
absolutely.
you, and I mean, I'm sure this time you're going to get the NLU that you are aspiring for. Of course, the counseling process is still ongoing, but
Yep,
great. All the very best for that, Abhyuday.
thank you,
Um,
ma'am.
Amita, we'll begin with the basics first, right? We'll begin with the your preparation journey. So, can you share how you got started and what motivated you to take on this challenge without any formal coaching, where there is so much culture of taking coaching for
Absolutely.
years in aspirants.
Right. So through my last attempt at CLAT, I was pretty sure that first of all, coachings don't help, right? They are, well, they don't really guide you, as per me, in my opinion, they don't really guide you, but they can probably misguide you, right? Because what I figured out after attempting CLAT 24 is that I was lacking at basic comprehension. And comprehension is something which I feel is the basic foundation of that, right?
Right.
So the first point was comprehension. Other part was cons. Well, I've not never been good at math in my school days, so that followed into CLAT as well. And yeah, I mean, I had that fear of math, which didn't really pay well in CLAT 24. I guess I attempted 9 questions and I got 5 wrong, so it was that bad. But nevertheless, and yeah, another part about 2024 was that I had put a lot of time to GK, and maybe
Okay.
that is why I could not have good comprehension. So because of that, I missed my chances to the top NLUs slightly.
All right. Okay. So, I mean, like you mentioned that comprehension lately, we've been seeing that CLAT is pretty much based on comprehensions, and
Absolutely.
students usually face a lot of challenges when they have to attempt questions which are either based on comprehension, or they have to spend a lot of time for reading and comprehending that entire passage. Um, with your two attempts and how you have prepared for yourself, how do you think they should approach the comprehensions, and then how they should be approaching the questions?
So what I did was that when I realized, okay, comprehension is not my strong suit, so then I figured out what went wrong. Right now, so previously we used to have 150 questions in 120 minutes, if you remember that, because that's where I started out. So at that point of time, I used to feel like, oh, so my reading speed isn't great. I needed to have a very good reading speed, which was fine as well. But then when the CLAD pattern changed to 120 and 120 questions, right? Then, well, the reading speed part, that became less important, but still I continued on that path only. I used to focus more upon my reading speed.
Okay.
So absolutely, I had a fantastic reading speed, right? But the point was that I used to miss out on comprehension.
Okay.
This is something that I realized, and then I started spending good amount of time on whatever text I'm reading. So supposedly I'm reading an article about, let's say, on law, right?
Yeah.
Now, law is something, well, which maybe a normal 12th grader would not understand because there is a lot of terms involved, right? But then I used to spend good amount of time. I used to Google any term which might feel confusing. And the main aim was that I understand the whole text, right? And of course, it took a lot of time. So any editorial in the Hindu might have taken something around 10 minutes, right? But the point was that I used to understand it fully. And when I used to understand it fully, gradually that followed into the CLAD paper and CLAD mock test. And we of course we have passages in CLAD, right? So in logical, particularly, we have arguments that are hidden within those passages. So when I improved my comprehension, I was able to spot those arguments, and well, then that is how I used to solve questions, right? So the main part is, if you improve your comprehension, it will help you across all the reading sections, right?
Right.
And that is the main foundation about CLAT only, right?
Right. Um, Abhyuday, I have often heard from students that starting is actually the hardest part, especially when doubts creep in about whether 1 year is enough for preparation or not. So, what I've observed is that, of course, consistency and trusting the process is the key. But staying consistent is like one of the biggest challenges when you have like 1 year with you,
Hmm.
right? And that is one challenge which a lot of aspirants they also face. So how did you keep yourself disciplined, especially when the motivation wanes? There are times,
Hmm.
right? And I mean, how did you utilize 1 year that was there with you?
So, of course, I observed that CLAT is not such a massive thing that has been portrayed to us. It's basically some basic skills that you gotta hone, right?
Hmm.
I was very clear about that, number one. So, the best source for that would be mocks. but the better source, or honestly the best source, are PYQs. So then I figured out ki, okay, first of all I gotta improve on that part. Now talking about being disciplined, I was fortunate to have good people around me. So I would like to mention a few of them. First of all, it would be Sarthak. So Sarthak has been my friend throughout my preparation, and he's also the co-founder along with me,
Okay.
right?
Great.
So he's been pursuing psychology honors from DU, and because he had those insights, so he used to calm me down, right? He used to provide me good guidance, and I feel having good mentors or having good friends is quite crucial, right? And yeah, I mean, apart from that, I was very sure that mock scores, they don't really matter,
Hmm.
so I never used to cry about those. So well, that part about being demotivated never kicked in. So yeah, I was quite pragmatic about CLAT. So yeah.
Great, great. Um, Also, Abhyuday, again, CLAT is divided into separate different sections, and there are five subjects mainly that are there, and of course, all of them are important, subject to their weightage. And then you also have to divide time effectively across subjects, and that is also one very crucial aspect. How did you structure your timeline for legal reasoning, English, and GK specifically?
Okay, so for legal, and I would also like to include logical in that. So legal, logical, and English, these are the three sections that are basically reading oriented. So for that, I would again repeat myself. It's basically comprehension.
Hmm.
Once you get good at comprehending things, I'll say it's literally a cakewalk for you, right? But to have that comprehension, I feel first of all you gotta be very patient, right? You'll have to put in that effort to understand text, and having a mentor also helps a lot. So, well, that is what we've been doing in our program along with mentees. So we take a passage or we take an article, we go through it on a threadbare basis, and then we highlight. So, see, this was what you got out of it, and this is the actual meaning. So it's I've been having these reviews from them, so it's quite helpful for them. So this was the part about comprehension. So I feel comprehension will help you across the three sections.
Right.
Rest we also have theory and legal and logical. Um, Logical is one thing that you might not be able to start without theory, but it doesn't end at theory. So, be it logical or legal, both of them are more about approach oriented, because when you'll attempt a lot of questions, you'll make a lot of mistakes, and then that is how you'll gain experience and improve accordingly. So, yeah.
Yeah. I remember I was speaking to a student last year who was struggling a lot with the lengthy comprehension based questions.
Mhm.
He suggested his input was that breaking the passage into smaller chunks, it also helps. If you break
Yeah.
it into smaller chunks, it becomes more readable. It sort of takes less time for you to comprehend the entire passage also. So yeah, that is also one thing. Also, Abhyuday, were there any specific subjects or topics that you found it more difficult, or which you or your mentees have been struggling the most with? If yes, then how can the aspirants tackle those areas?
All right. So that section gotta be cutie for me, right? Because as I told you, I was not good at math at all. But
Okay.
then I found a really good platform that I would like to recommend everybody. So this platform, so it's a website that is takshzilla.com. I
Okay.
would, if is there a chat option, right? So let me just type
Yeah.
it real quick. Okay, so it's
Also, those who are attending the webinar, if you'll have any questions, guys, you can also put it in the chat box. We'll take up your questions by the end.
So this platform, so they have a lot of courses. Uh, it's basically CAT oriented, but then you can utilize it for CLAT as well. So I found their course is QA basic to intermediate. Now you can purchase that course for 199 for just 60 days, and well, they teach very effectively in a very simple manner, and well, that course cleared all my doubts regarding the theory. Then I was left with only practice. So practice, well, I did that through mocks, and I guess I was able to go through them effectively. So QT is one section that I feel you must conquer, because it might be your worst enemy now, but it can turn into your best friend during the CLAT paper, because even 1 marks matter a lot in the CLAT paper.
Definitely. Um, Abhyuday, someone in the Q&A box has asked a question that how do you
Mhm.
comprehend a passage that you will be clear of it?
Okay.
Yeah.
See, first of all, the thing that you should keep in mind is that the author is writing that passage for a reason, right? So there's some idea that is being presented. Now you'll just have to focus upon that idea, and of course there's a lot of nuances involved, right? But in a normal passage, see, there would be some argument, right, that say we should promote education, right? So if I say, we should improve or we should promote education, I mean, I'm no god which people would believe to, right? So I'll have to give evidences as well. So these evidences are basically known as premises, right? So they just strengthen the arguments of the author. So I feel a typical passage involves premises, arguments, and the conclusion that would follow. So you just have to spot these three things, and I feel you'll be through the passage. But of course, this is a quite personalized thing, so maybe you might seek a mentor. That is a better thing.
Right, right, right. You also mentioned prior about the mock test that you were taking. So, of course, mock tests are again a very essential part of CLAT preparation. How early did you start taking mock tests, and how did you analyze your performance?
So I feel as soon as I started my preparation, I started attempting the mocks, because you see, just because we call them mock test, we
Hmm.
might think it's a test of our preparation, but it's not that. I feel mock tests are the way you can prepare for CLAT, because theory, yeah, theory is important just to start out, but the main part about CLAT is taking that test, because it is an examination of your skill, right, rather than your knowledge. Now I would like to highlight this example that I tell to my mentees. Suppose that you are learning to swim. Okay, so can you learn to swim in a classroom with a teacher and a blackboard? You cannot, right? So you'll have to dive into that water. You'll have to make mistakes. You'll have to seek a mentor who can guide you. So that is why you drowned, right? So that is the basic part about attempting mocks. And the main part that I feel about a mock test is that you should be happy about making mistakes. So what I tell my mentees is that, if you're making a lot of mistakes, consider that mock as a happy mock, right? Because now you have room to improve. You know. So yeah, and make mistakes, analyze those mistakes, and that is how you will improve in CLAT, because it's basically a test of your skill rather than your knowledge.
So, during the mocks that you were taking, how did you balance speed and time and all the challenges that comes through whenever you're taking a mock test?
Of course, so for a beginner, 120 questions along with long passages in 120 minutes would sound daunting. So that was the story with me as well.
Hmm.
Now, when you're starting out, was there an echo? Okay, so sorry, yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So when you're starting out, of course, you would not have good comprehension, right? You would not have good reading speed. So, of course, I mean, I feel CLAD is a whole process that will go on throughout the year. But now that we are here right now, I'll first of all say that please don't care a lot about your speed, because if you start caring about your speed, you start rushing through the mock. And it is better to attempt a few questions and get them right, at least in the beginning, right? Rather than attempting a lot of questions and getting a lot of wrong options, then you'll only realize, oh, because I rushed, that is why I was not able to get this option right. So apart from that, again, my favorite thing about CLAT, comprehension plays a key role. So if you have good comprehension, first of all, you'll be able to understand that passage. And now when you'll be able to understand that passage, you'll automatically be quick at it, right? Because you'll know what matters in that passage. You'll quickly scan through that passage, you'll know, okay, this matters, this matters. This is where the question would follow from. And yeah, I mean, that is a basic thing, right? And apart from that, when you can comprehend a passage well, there would be, the chances of you getting options right would increase, right? So it's basically I feel it is the most neglected part about CLAT preparation is that people focus upon their reading speed, but they
Hmm.
forget about the comprehension. But comprehension is the most important part about CLAT, according to me.
Also, Abhyuday, I believe that mock analysis is where the real improvement happens.
Mhm.
Um, can you share how you used to analyze your mocks, and how did you use those insights to improve? And what do
Okay.
you guide your mentees in that case as well?
So mock analysis is a whole process, I'll say, and I would rather call it reattempting the mock rather
Hmm.
than analysis. Now, reattempting doesn't mean going through all the 120 questions once again. No, that's not the case. So, I mean, so my process included, see, if I have a mock, right? And before that, I'll suggest everybody to attempt offline mocks because the paper is basically offline. So it would be better to attempt offline mocks. So we have your mock with us, we have the answer key with us. Now you open that mock. Say you got question number one wrong, right? Now don't mark the right option in the mock. Rather than just uncircle that question number one. Now you do that for every other question that you got wrong. Now you close your answer key, open your mock once again. And now by that time you would have forgotten what the right option for question number one was. And so now we'll read the passage preceding that question. We'll go through that passage very slowly. We'll understand everything about that passage. Now that we know that our right option is not the right option, so we'll change the option. Now let's say if I chose B and now the answer is D, and yeah, I mean, now I can verify that from the answer key. If I got it right, that's cool. Now once again, I'll close their answer key. Now because I chose D this time, I would have thought something, right? So now I got to note that something in my, you can note that out down in a copy or in that mock as well. And we'll have to do that for the entire section, then for the entire passage, sorry, for the entire mock. And then you'll find some patterns, right? Then you'll analyze those patterns. You can note that those patterns down, and I feel this whole process will take good 2 hours, right? And will when you'll do this, right, when you'll read the passages again, you'll attempt the questions again, it would basically be an reattempt only. So that
Hmm.
is what I used to do.
Right, right, right. And this is exactly where you actually improve.
Of
You
course.
understand your mistake and then you rectify it. And the chances of you repeating that mistake again, it significantly decreases.
Yes,
So,
yes.
of course, taking mock is definitely very important. Taking frequent mocks, of course, is very important. But analysis, like Abhyuday mentioned, it is an entire
I would
process in itself.
I
And
would also like to add another thing in
yeah.
this, that I maintained a mistake stock. So I
Hmm.
used to note down my mistakes, usually the patterns, right? Just say, for example, if I had a legal question in the legal reason section and I got it wrong just because I did not read the question properly. So I'll note that down. I didn't read the question properly. Before attempting another mock or a section, I'll go through that doc, right? And my chances of repeating that mistake would lessen. So if say I can make 100 mistakes, right? I noted 20 down.
Hmm.
I went through them again. I made 20 new mistakes. I improved on the 20 other. So gradually I'll improve on all the 100 mistakes, right? So that
Yeah.
is the main process about CLAT.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing that all of you should take away from what Abhyuday had just said right now is that, see, you might get low scores in the mock test, right? But the point here is that you should not get disheartened by the low mock scores. Instead, focus on understanding why mistakes happened, right? And strive to improve them. Often what happens with aspirants is that they take mock tests, and of course they have consistently low scores in the mock test, and they sort of do not do the proper analysis, and they do not improve. If you'll just get disheartened and you'll be demoralized by the low scores, guys, there's no growth, there's no improvement then
And
happening.
I feel that is quite toxic about this whole CLAT preparation because you'll have another peer who will be like, oh, I'm getting 90 or I'm getting this and that. Now, trust me, guys, I'll just break that for you guys. So, first of all, I've seen a lot of top scorers and mocks, they did not get through CLAT, right? And me, now you would assume, well, you might assume that I would have got 90s or hundreds in mocks, right? But that wasn't the case because so my score in mocks used to range between 75-ish, right? So now, I mean, I never got a 90, by the way. I never got a 90. The highest that I got was 84, I guess, in one mock. But the point was that even if I was getting 75 or even did get that 84, nothing changed, honestly. I didn't get demotivated or I didn't get over motivated, right? Because what I knew about mocks is that, see, CLAT paper is quite different from mocks. And you can just verify it for yourself. Open the PYQ, open any mock test. You can compare side by side that how questions differ in mocks. So what I realized about mocks is that GK and QT don't really matter because GK. Well, I'll take this thing up in the next question because GK is honestly a lot to say about. But about QT, so I cannot name these institutes, but there are at least two institutes who have quite difficult QT in their mocks. And I verified that QT with the PYQs, and I realized that this is nowhere near PYQs. So, although CLAT tells us to prepare for 10th level maths, but I feel it is more about 8th level maths, right? So, and in mocks, there's no way those are 8th level maths. It used to be quite tough for me, and then I realized कि नहीं, if I'm able to solve maths from PYQs, I have a fair chance of solving maths in CLAT, and that is what happened, right? So QT was one thing that I didn't care about. GK was another. उसके reasons I'll give, right? Now I'm left with three sections, reading sections,
Yeah.
and these were my strong suit. So even though I never got 90s, but what I managed to do is that in these three sections, I maintained a constant 90 percentile, sorry, 90% plus percentile. So that means that I've beaten 90% of the people in these three sections. And I feel this played out in CLAT as well. And yeah, that is why I was able to get through even with low scores. So yeah, that was my strategy about mocks.
Nice. So, Abhyuday, you just mentioned that you did not care enough about QT and GK, while GK is a section that intimidates many aspirants, or most of them. How
Yeah.
did you approach current affairs in GK in a way that it did not daunt you? And what resources actually worked best for you for while you were preparing for GK and current affairs?
All right. So I've already noted down a few pointers. Let me just find them real quick.
Yeah.
So um yeah, so here it is. So of course I was really waiting for this question because this is the
Most
main.
anticipated question.
Of course, this is the main part where aspirants suffer. And this was me in 2023 while I was preparing for 2024. And of course, as I mentioned that is why probably I could not get a good rank that year. So first of all, see, I went through the PYQs for you all. Okay. And what I realized is that prima facie, it might sound very difficult. It might seem very difficult that array ISRO said they asked this, or from AI they asked this. But what I realized is that, and well, this thing actually played out this year as well. Before that, I'd like to say that you guys might guess that if we have 28 questions or 20 or 30 questions in GK, in mocks I might be getting some what 25 plus, right? But that wasn't the case. Usually, my score in mocks in GK section it used to range around well in single digits, right? On a good day, it might reach up to 13, but it never reached beyond that. And I was quite cool about that because the point was that it didn't really matter. And now, well, a person who never got 25, now that person attempted 20 out of 20 questions in GK in CLAT 2025, and I got 4 wrong, so my score was 23. And well, there have been controversies about the result and everything, but that's another thing. But yeah, I mean, now you see, I used to have a score of single digits or 13. I moved that score to 23. How
Hmm.
did I do that? Even without any coaching classes, right? So, we have a lot of coachings, they'll be like taking GK throughout their day. And honestly, I've had the chance to attempt or attend those classes. Believe me, guys, it was a disastrous experience to have, because they've connect this topic to somewhere else, and it used to be very difficult for me to follow, right? So yeah, let me just tell you a bit about GK. So firstly, I'll tell you that even though we have 30 questions, and the weightage of revolves around 25% of the paper, right?
Right.
Now you might think, okay, so we need to give a lot of time to GK because GK is quite important, everything, and they can ask anything. First of all, they won't ask just anything, right? That is what I've realized. Even this year, okay, so I'll I'll get to this one later, but so in a year we have roughly around 500 plus topics, right? Now, guys, do you really think that the consortium is going to go through all the 500 topics? I mean, I don't think so that, right? And secondly, you being in class 12 or some of them being dropper as well, do you really think you have enough time to cover all the 500 plus topics, right? I didn't have that. Rather, I invested that time into my reading sections and quants. Now, of course, even if we see this year, I feel we had five passages and we had three based on current affairs. One was on this history, and the other one was on a bill that was passed last year. But that was, I feel, an exception, right? So now I really like this thing about consortium is that they're including history in this, which is quite good, I feel, because you guys would have gone through class 10th, right? So they expect you to know a bit about your history and everything. So I feel that is good. Now, of course, the most awaited part, how did I get that score, right? I didn't have any classes, right? I didn't follow any magazine. What I did was from, in fact, from December, right? December 23 till this till November, right? I followed newspaper thoroughly. And that is what I found in the CLAT paper. And that is what I found in PYQs as well. That the whole GK section is basically newspaper oriented. You read the paper thoroughly, right? You follow it regularly, and you'll find the themes revolving around the paper as well. So there were a lot of confusing questions like what happened in the BRICS summit. Now this thing, I can bet it no coaching would have covered it. And again, I've had some opportunity to attend their GK test as well. Now their GK test on BRICS would revolve around who coined that term, or where is that whatever way the first meeting was or where the last meeting was, but
Yeah.
none of those questions appeared in CLAT. They just asked what happened during that meeting. Now you would know that only if you were following paper, right? And talking about me, I never did that 500 plus topics. I would have hardly done 20 topics throughout the year, out of which so even before CLAT, before like 2 to 3 days before CLAT, I was quite chill about GK. I had not revised GK at all, but I was quite chill about it because I knew there are hardly five topics that are gonna be there. And so yeah, I mean, I revised those five topics. उसमें से three followed. The other two that were left was T20 World Cup and the general election, which I don't really know why didn't they put general election in there, but anyways. So yeah, as you see, I could predict the topics as well. I knew one would be on history, so I was prepared for that, and that followed. Right. There was another exception. Now talking about this exception, sorry. Uh,
Paris Olympics were also quite
uh
probable. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and even the question that topic that were not anywhere near whatever coachings would tell, right? That was once again newspaper based. So the idea is that the whole paper or the whole section of GK, in my opinion, is basically on newspapers. So if you follow your newspaper thoroughly, I can say you'll be through CLAT. Now you would have some question, right? I know that. So the first question would be, so should I follow this IS magazine or not? I'll say no. Because frankly, these are designed for IS, right? For UPSC and everything. So, and of course, I mean, that is a lot, right? Once again, the same logic that there are 500 plus topics. Consortium is not going to go through each one of those. They rather focus on the last 6 months, right? So we can see Paris followed, JNK followed, BRICS followed. All of these were in that last 6 months, particularly in the last 3 months, right? And then, well, the questions were based on newspaper, right? And another part about classes. So a lot of you might be enrolled in some coachings. Then you would be thinking, okay, so we have classes for GK and everything. So see, one excuse that they give for making their classes hard for GK is that we are preparing you for the worst. So we had this Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam wala bill, that passage in there. I mean, what could be worse than that? Aspirants from this year would have no idea about it. Fortunately, I was preparing last year, so I had a fair idea about that. But I mean, uske alawa, what can it be there, right? So, my in summary, I'll just say, don't fall in that GK trap. I call it the GK trap because it can really mm, uh, make your CLAT preparation miserable, right? Please don't fall in that FOMO of missing out on resources or news or anything else, because there are just a few topics that would fall in CLAT, and I was quite sure about those. Now, another question, that how can you know what these topics are? I mean, I honestly cannot tell that right here because it would take a lot of time, right? And we're on a crunch of time. What I can say is that you can, of course, follow my YouTube channel, right? If you wish to follow or if you wish to seek personalized help from me, that is also available, and everything would be on my channel, right? So, yeah, so let me just type down my. You can search this on YouTube and you'll find it out, right, guys? So that is about GK.
I think you misspelled it. It's
Oh, so sorry.
coached.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So it's uncoached.
Coached.
Yep. Sure, man.
Also, to take away from what you just said, what all I've understood, uh, maybe you should focus more on current affairs rather than static GK, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Abhyuday mentioned, most of the GK portion was from last 6 months. There was one passage from NCRT 10th class history book on civil
Yep.
disobedience movement, right? So there was less focus on your static GK. If you will put a lot of time on static GK, it's never gonna end. It's an
Fairly.
ocean. You have to dive deep, but you will just keep swimming, and it is never going to end. But if
Of
you
course.
focus on current affairs, uh, majorly current affairs from your past 1 year, you can get through CLAT. I mean, that section
Absolutely.
is pretty much doable.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Right, right. So, other than that, any other resources that you would want, do you suggest for GK or for static GK? Let's just say
I
anything.
mean, yeah, so you can follow websites like, all the media websites like The Hindu, Indian Express.
Hmm.
I would like to highlight The Wire. So this website not only helps in your GK wala thing, they also have a section dedicated to law in general. So you can read those articles as well. And basically, these are articles on law. Unlike bar and bench and live law, which are just reports of the judgments, these are articles on law. So I feel that would also help you build that orientation for the legal reasoning section as well, right? And okay, so just to, if you are too much into this, I want scores and mocks and everything, you can follow CLAT Express from Law Prep. Now I can already say this, that it might not help you a lot in your CLAT paper. It might help you in the mocks. If you're too much into it, that no, I just want marks. You can follow that, but honestly, even if you don't, it's not going to make a lot of difference. So yeah, these were the many things.
So that was for GK, Abhyuday, but for other subjects, like I often recommend aspirants to prioritize quality over quantity when it comes to
Okay.
resources, right? But there are so many resources out there, it is very easy to feel overwhelmed. How did you decide which ones to stick to? Because you were preparing on your own. There were no coaching material that you were referring to. So, what
Right.
books or study materials for other subjects, for legal reasoning or for logical? QT, the way we understood, you were referring to Takshila in that case, or other online platforms that you
Hmm.
found most
Yep, yep.
useful during your preparation.
So, first of all, we do have this Telegram, right? A lot of you would be in a lot of groups. So, and there's a whole flood of materials that's there. I'll say that, see, how you can limit your resources is by understanding your resources. Now, there are, I guess I can name those. So, there are a few coachings, right? Particularly, I used to attempt LE mocks, right? Then I had a test series at CLAT Possible, and I used to attempt a few Vidikya mocks as well. Now, these were the only three mocks, but my primary mock has always been legal edge. Now, that was very sure, so I never even tried to find or explore other mocks, first of all. Now, talking about books and everything, once again, this examination is more about your skills, and I'll say a lot about your skills, right? So, theory do play a role, maybe in the beginning, but after that, it's just your skills and your practice. And for practice, you again have mocks. So, you can attempt those mocks, you can take sections out of it, you can attempt those sectional tests and analyze them, improve upon those. Now, I feel that was about this thing. About some online platforms, I already mentioned about Takshila and a few websites like, as I guess I already highlighted about those big media websites. Apart from that, if you want to, now this is quite not so usual advice, but if you want to, you can follow a few journals, right? So a lot of law journals are there. Maybe just say NLU Law Review and NUJS Law Review. So there are a lot of good journals that they publish, right? So that would also give you an exposure about how research articles are written. So this is something that you're anyways gonna do in your law school as well. So I feel this will also help you equip with a lot of different perspective as well. So yeah,
Abhyuday, we have a question in the Q&A box which
sure, sure.
says that, sir, I read newspapers Times of India for 2 months. So
Mhm.
probably he or she has been reading it for past 2 months. Also, I could not read much. Many terms were not clear also. Which thing we should read? How to just manage? I'm in class 10th right now.
First of all, if you're in class 10th, that is a very good thing because now you have 2 years to prepare,
Hmm.
right? Um, okay, so if you're starting about Times of India, well, I mean, it is okay for a beginner, but I'll rather suggest you to try to move to Indian Express, or it would be best if you move to The Hindu, right? Now, there, of course, what should I read or what I should not read. So, if you're talking about terms, I feel you're talking about vocabulary. So a simple Google search would work, I feel, right? And about filtering out topics, what are relevant. The basic rule is that normal politics, right? Normal sloganeering that he said this to that or that person said this to that. That is not important, right? A few policies might be important. Judgments of courts would be important, right? The world section or the global section, international section, that would be important. And the most important part in a newspaper, especially the Hindu and the Indian Express, are their editorials and the explained or the text and context, right? So, of course, I'll suggest you to probably try to move to the Hindu because that is what I followed. And of course, I tried comparing the Indian Express and the Hindu. What I figured out is that the editorial and the news quality in the Hindu is marginally better, right? And text and context is one thing which is good about the Hindu. Now, equally, we have explained page in the Indian Express. So, what you can do is that maybe you can have your primary newspaper as the Hindu, and you can follow the explained part from the Indian Express. And about filtering out topics, well, yeah, I mean, you might need some mentor for that. And another thing that I would like to highlight is that we are providing head papers in our program. So, if you wish, you can be a part of that as well. And not just that, we also have this thing in our program is that we go through editorials because I feel this is one thing that can equip you very well for CLAT because editorials, first of all, they are based on current events, right? And they have experts' opinion upon that. So if you're able to understand those topics, right, there's a high chance that these might follow in the CLAT paper as well. So that would help you understand passages in CLAT, right? And I know that it gets really tough for a beginner to do that. So we host sessions, right, where I host those sessions, and I go line by line in that tutorial. I quiz people that, what did you understand from this line? We ask for different opinions and everything. So we discuss a tutorial like it is used to be. So I feel if seek a mentor, that would be another good thing for newspapers.
Abhijay, like this attendee is in class 10th, there will be a lot of aspirants who are probably in class 12th right now and they'll be taking the exam this year along with their boards, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So, what do you think? I mean, of course, it's going to be overwhelming, it's going to be challenging as well, which is also one more question about the same, that how do you manage your boards with the CLAT preparation,
Okay.
especially when it's about self study?
Is quite nostalgic, honestly, because I feel that same conundrum. So, just to give a small background, in 2023, while I was preparing for my first attempt, I did not attend my school straight up for 2 months, right? So, and anyways, even before that, I didn't used to go school a lot, and I had missed out on classes, right? So my syllabus, it was just not complete. I didn't know anything about economics. So yeah, before that I was in humanities, right? So I had economics, I had computer science as an optional, which was quite tough, right? And then I had basic history, political science, and everything. So the idea was that I have to give boards, and my syllabus isn't there. Plus, I need to prepare for CLAT as well, right? So, of course, what I figured out that first of all, I don't need to focus upon GK, which is something that was consuming my time, as well as I'll say mental state, because it really gets quite a lot upon your mental state, right? So what I did was that I guess I don't really suggest this, but if you have both right now, you can manage your CLAT preparation such that you are attempting a mock every week, or maybe alternatively, right? You're analyzing that mock, you are in touch with newspapers, and yeah, I mean, because even in our mentorship program, we have a lot of people who are in the same state. So I've just told them, if you can attend a few sessions with us, if you are reading newspaper and you're attending a few mocks, you'll be fine until board start, right? Now, during that time, first of all, when we'll tell you what is necessary for CLAT, you realize that it's not a lot that we should do in a day. It's just basic things. So if you would be thinking, that we got to study for too long for CLAT, that is not the case. So now you'll have time to prepare for your whatever syllabus, right? School ka syllabus. Then you can prepare accordingly for that. One tip that I would like to give and what I followed in my boards. So of course you know my background, right? Still, I managed to get a 90% in my boards, and that too, well, I didn't study, but I pulled that off in 4 to 5 days. I don't recommend that, right? But because you have time, you can prepare right now. I didn't do that. Don't try that because I mean, I
Not
don't know
me
how I
too.
was.
Yeah.
I was not. I was able to pull it off, but what I did is that I had prior experience from CLAT, right? However small it was, but I did have it. So if you are somebody who has already attempted CLAT this year and now you're planning to take a drop, you can follow one thing. Especially if you're in humanities, you can take your chapter and you can try to find the main idea out of those topics or the subtopics. So if I have history, or if say I have political science. Now there was one chapter about regional aspirations, something like that. So I tried to find the main crux of it. So there were a few states, right? Punjab and J&K, I feel. Now then I tried to find, okay, what was the main problem J&K? I
Hmm.
found that out, and that is how I broke my preparation parts. And then during my board paper, especially if you're from CBSE, maybe you can try this. That as I said, that I prepared during those 4 to 5 days. So I was not too thorough with my syllabus. But what I did, I wrote current events in that paper, and that is how I was able to secure 95 in political science without knowing a lot about the theory. So this is something that you can do in CBSE. right? And rest, don't really worry about cloud preparation as of now, because once again, in this stage, we'll be aiming to build our skills, right? The important one being comprehension. So it is anyways a process, right? So you can read newspapers for that, devote a bit of time, attempt a few mocks, and it will be fine for boards. So you can focus upon boards as for now.
Right. So again, just to mention what Abhyuday has just said for his board preparation, guys, please don't take notes. It might not work for everyone.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, preparing in for preparing the entire 1 year syllabus in 4 to 5 days might not work for everyone. It did. It worked well for him, and if you if you've heard him through the session, he has said it many times that I did not study, but I do not trust such people. They always say that they do not study, but then they get
I
90% marks. That's
but yeah, I mean, I guess my
he's just blessed that
experiment
way.
card probably. Yeah, but cool.
Right, right. But yeah, do not leave everything on the last 5 days. Yeah,
Sure,
right.
sure.
Right, right. So, someone in the chat box has asked this question, Abhyuday, that what was your daily schedule at early preparation stage? Let's say now you have 1 year to CLAT. The aspirant, how the aspirant should be planning his or her day.
Sure, I guess I also noted this one down as well. So, hmm, okay, huh. So, see, I don't really think so that it changed a lot throughout the year, because I figured out that, first of all, I'll say that I don't really believe in having, you know, quarterly or monthly strategies or changing a strategy throughout the month, because there's not a lot, right? What you can change in is that, first of all, have PYQs as your benchmarks. So let's say I start out my preparation right now. I went through the paper of say 2025, right? Now I figured out, okay, maybe logical is something that I need to improve. After a month, I'll check that once again. Maybe from some other year, maybe 2022. So if I'm marginally better at it, first of all, I'll still stick to that improving logical. Along with that, I'll focus on the other section that could be QT or could be logical, sorry, legal, right? So that is how you do, is that you don't leave all sections, or you don't just stick to one section. You do every section simultaneously.
Hmm.
So if you ask what my daily, I guess he asked what my daily schedule was, right? Cool. So first of all, it was newspaper, right? I did that throughout the year. So once I'm done with the newspaper, and by the way, so this question I've been getting from my mentees as well, is that it's taking us a lot of time in newspaper. Some of them are taking 2 hours from newspaper. I feel it is completely fine if you're starting right now, right? And then once again, it is good to give that amount of time to newspaper, because it's covering a lot of your sections, right? I feel except QT, it is covering everything. So it is completely justified to give that time, I feel. So of course it was newspaper. Then I used to give a few sectionals. It would depend. Maybe I might give logical or legal or whatever that is. Then I used to read articles and read, or maybe go through my mistakes. And yeah, I mean that was basically what I did. And this was completely for the whole year, right? GK though I started out maybe in the last 3 months only. So yeah, and before that I was just keeping in touch with the newspaper. So yeah, I mean it doesn't really change throughout the year. That is just basic stuff that we gotta do throughout the year.
Right. So, one very important thing here to note is that, of course, even if you have a schedule, of if you know what all has to be done, consistency is something which is the key, right? If you know what is the right thing to do, but if you do not do it consistently, it will not give you some results. So, one thing that you have to keep in mind is that you have to be disciplined and consistent. Even if you are giving, let's say, 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day only, but do it consistently, right? So, the small, consistent steps that often trump. bursts of motivation, right? So one very important thing that also I have now to ask from Abhyuday is that what worked for you the most in terms of motivation? How did you keep yourself motivated um, all throughout your preparation journey?
So um, I'll say that first of all, of course, it was my peers who really helped me, who were always there. Right. Apart from that, well, I do have this opinion that if you're seeking external motivation,
Hmm.
then I'll just say that maybe you might reconsider your decision. Because as I highlighted that, when I saw that result, right? Acha, even before that, this one funny thing that I would like to highlight. So after the 2024 paper, there were a lot of websites that were publishing cutoffs, right? Predictions of cutoffs. So as per my marks, I would have got Jodhpur, right? And Jodhpur requires a rank of roughly around 200 to 300 in general category. So I was expecting something around 200, okay? Now when I opened my results, I saw, okay, 2, 0, 4, and how did this 3 pop up? So, and after when I saw that, I of course paused for a while. That 2043 for real? I mean, I put in a lot of things, but then I'm getting this while expecting Jodhpur. So, of course, that didn't work out. But after that settled in, I made up my mind that no, I mean, I am attempting this paper once again because whatever efforts that I put in, I strongly feel that I don't, or maybe I deserve a lot better than whatever I was getting, right? So my aim or my target was pretty clear that I have to attempt it once again, and I want a better national university. So that was one thing that was clear in my mind. And after that, I just started working, right? So I
Hmm.
just started putting in the right efforts. I had the right knowledge about things as well, that what I actually got to do, right? And by the way, I didn't have a mentor, but then this is something that I figured out on my own only. But I feel if you have a mentor, things would be very easy for you, right? But of course, I had the right knowledge, I put in the right actions, and it led to right results. Apart from that, one thing that I would like to show you all is that this thing is something that I brought maybe in October or something. So if this is visible, is this the right orientation?
Do your best and
I
forget the
forget
rest.
the rest. So if you follow, I mean, of course, I'm a bhakt of Lord Krishna. So he said this thing कि आप अपना काम करो, फल की चिंता मत करो. This thing, I mean, this manifestation honestly became true for me. Each time when I used to, do this chinta about whatever I'm doing or whatever the fal would be, I just used to look at this thing, right? And it used to remind me, nahi, you're doing the right thing. Just keep on doing that. And I believed on this throughout my journey, and in the end, it all played well. Most importantly, I was somebody who was on my own, right?
Hmm.
And I used to have even more doubts. Okay, so if this strategy is going to work or not, I was pretty sure. See, I don't really know if it's going to work out or not, but at least won't have any regrets about my preparation. Number one. Number two, that I didn't put in that effort, try things out on my own. But fortunately, it did work out for me, and I'm quite happy that I did that on my own, right? So, about motivation, of course, it is quite good to have good friends around you, good people around you who can motivate you, who can be there for you, right?
Right.
Apart from that, have that right knowledge, right action, and right faith.
Yeah. Also, please keep this thing in mind that you are your biggest cheerleader, right? And self motivation is the key. No one is going to come to your rescue. Only you are going to help yourself in this case. So please, I mean, give yourself that much of time, and please have faith in your potential, and please stay motivated, because you will only be disciplined and consistent if you are motivated. And like Abhyuday just mentioned, if you're looking for external motivation, maybe then you have to reconsider your decision. uh,
Absolutely.
so great. Abhyuday, one last question that
Sure.
finally, that what is that one thing that you would like every CLAT aspirant who's watching this to take away from this session?
All right. So I do have pointers for that as well. Um, yeah, so okay. I guess I missed out on those. Anyways, okay, cool. I'll just say that right here. So doesn't matter, regardless of the year that you're preparing for, there are few things that you should be doing, and I feel these are the things that are just enough for your preparation. First of all, um, you should know that this examination is an examination of your skills. So focus upon improving those skills, right? Secondly, do not shy away from attempting mocks, whether you're preparing for 2027 or 2026, right? And most important part about a mock is that you analyze those, analyzing them and improving from your mistakes, right? Apart from that, focus upon your weaker areas. For me, it was QT, and I focus upon that. Rest, please don't fall into the GK trap. It's just some topics that are gonna be there, right? Which I'll probably sharing on my whatever social media I have, right? And yeah, I mean, of course, apart from that, be happy, right? Don't take a lot of stress about CLAD. It's a simple paper. It requires simple skills, and I feel, and I absolutely feel this, that 1 year is just enough for that, and is even more than enough for that, I'll say.
All right, Abhyuday. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your strategies and your insights with all of us. This has been a very inspiring and enriching session. And also
Thank
to
you.
all our viewers, please remember that there is no one size fits all approach to CLAT. Okay.
Yep.
Please take inspiration from Abhyuday's journey, but also please trust your own process. Like Abhyuday just mentioned, that you do your best and forget the rest, right? So please do not forget to give your best, right?
Right.
So all of this is going to stay with you, and trust me, all of you are going to do great. So thank you
Right.
everyone for joining us. Abhyuday, any last words for our viewers?
I mean, first of all, I'll say that whoever is here, right, today on a Saturday evening, if you've taken efforts to be here, I can say that you're pretty serious about card number one. So that is a very big plus point for you, right? And just know that there's a lot of glitter that goes on, or there's a lot of show that goes around cloud. Just cut the noise, focus upon the right thing, and seek right guidance, right? And believe in yourself, have good people around you, stay happy. I mean, staying happy and staying positive was something that really played out for me. And yeah, I mean, it's a journey of 1 year, and I'll say if you follow this, it's going to be quite rewarding. It's going to be quite fun, right? And it's of course going to change you as a person. I remember the Abhyuday from 22, and now I am here, and I'm quite proud of myself that yeah, I mean, I changed as a person, and all thanks to Clat for that. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a rewarding journey for you all, and I wish all of you very best for your preparation and for your CLAT. And of course, I mean, I hope to see you all at National Law Schools.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much, Abhyuday, for sparing
Thank you,
time for
Mahal.
Octopus. Really means a lot. And guys, please do not forget to stay consistent and stay focused, and please believe in your abilities. And thank you so much. Best of luck. And I will see you all very soon in some other sessions that we will organize for CLAD aspirants. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank you.
great weekend ahead. Bye.